Okay, welcome to Inside NLCS Singapore, a series of conversations with the people that shape our school. And our second guest in this series is Louise Nichols, our Head of Junior School Science. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
Louise. So, look, we all know how passionate you are about your subject. Before we start talking about teaching science and science in the junior school, I want to talk about you as a scientist. So tell us where the inspiration and the passion came from.
Do you know what? I think when I was younger, I was always into making potions and lotions at home, in the bathroom, in the kitchen. My mother would probably say I was up to mischief, but I just loved seeing what I could make, what reactions I could get. And little did I know at the time, I was actually conducting science experiments. And there was one particular instance where I added too much baking soda to vinegar, and the reaction was a little too vigorous, and the kitchen stunk of vinegar for a good few weeks after that. But that was where it kind of really piqued my interest. I was a very curious child, and I loved seeing how things work and what happens when you sort of add things together and mix ingredients together. So that's where it all started.
Okay. And then how did that develop? I mean, I would imagine, you've got that level of curiosity, you've got that interest, but then something must have happened at school to harness that
I
interest.
had fantastic science teachers in senior school who really engaged with me and let me sort of develop my interests. And so I went on to do A-level sciences, then did a degree in science. And I was chatting with a careers advisor, and I said, I love science, but I don't know what to do with it. What do I do? And she's like, well, if you love science, share your love with children, go into teaching. And fast forward 20 odd years, here I am.
Yeah. And science is very, very broad, isn't it? So if we wanted to understand about your particular expertise and your specific interests, what part of science would that be?
Biology is probably where my passion lies. I'm interested in physics and space, and obviously chemical reactions are fascinating, but biology is where my interest stemmed from. It's my degree, it's what I love doing during A-level science. Yeah. So that's probably where my passion lies. Yeah.
And what drew you to wanting to work with younger children in particular, rather than taking that far more predictable route of teaching in a senior school setting?
I did take the predictable route to begin with, and I've taught a wide range of age ranges for science, from KG2 all the way up to grade 12 for science. But there's just something magical about teaching the younger children. Their minds are like little sponges when it comes to learning, and I love being part of their journey and laying the foundation for their sort of passion, interest in science.
And one of our strong beliefs, isn't it, is the importance of subject specialist teaching in a junior school setting, which is quite unusual. To have subject specialist teaching all the way down to grade 2 in a number of subjects, it gives us a very unique approach. What advantages do you think there are to using subject specialists in a junior school setting, as opposed to that more traditional homeroom teacher teaching all subjects?
So I think my passion in science, being a sort of a junior specialist teacher, allows me to deep dive into my passions on a daily basis. And I genuinely believe that my passion is transferred, my enthusiasm for science is transferred onto the children. My breadth and depth of knowledge, I think, sets a really strong foundation for those junior children to succeed going on into the senior school as well.
Yeah, okay. Can you take us inside a lesson, a typical lesson, and maybe think about a recent lesson that you've particularly enjoyed, or you think that the children have particularly enjoyed?
So there's actually one particular topic in grade 4 which I look forward to teaching every year, and it's forces, physics lesson, physics topic, forces. And there's so many aha moments in that topic, from learning about buoyancy to pivots and effort. And the children, even when they're sort of leaving the room, they're like, oh, Mrs. Nichols, this is why we have to have the door handle so far away from the hinges, because it reduces the effort and the force needed. I was like, yes. And that's kind of, it gives you that, oh, this is why I do it. These kind of, it's the understanding of the science concepts, but then transferring them to the real world. And I think that's just so important.
So you are creating students who think scientifically.
They think scientifically and they apply those concepts into the real world, which is my main priority, is them not just being able to understand science, but apply it as well.
Sure. Okay. If we think about aspirations that you have for your children, is it possible to teach a grade 3, a grade 4 student and to think in your own mind, this is going to be a scientist, or this is already a scientist?
I genuinely do that with every single student. I want to empower these children to believe they can do anything. And I think being a female role model as well in science is so important in such a male-dominated industry. And so, yeah, I think there's nothing stopping these grade 2, 3, 4, or any of the children from following their passions.
Okay. The fun part of the conversation to end, we've stolen an idea from a famous podcast, and we're asking each person that we have a conversation with to leave a question.
Oh, I know this
the next
podcast
guest.
well.
Yes? Okay. So Sophie Davis is the person that has left a question for you.
Okay.
And she wants to know, if you were not a teacher, what profession would you be in?
I did toy with medicine. And during my A-levels, I did go and do some work experience in a hospital. But the blood put me off. So possibly if I managed to overcome my fear of blood, then a doctor.
Okay.
But yeah, I couldn't deal with the blood.
Okay. Thank you very much for the conversation. Thank you for everything you do for our school.
You're very welcome.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.